Friends, this presentation is devoted to Indian knowledge system, and uh, the basic assumption behind developing the Indian knowledge system is that a, a long British uh, period in India has created a situation of what K.C. Bhattacharya calls enslavement of mind and made us dependent on the Western thought categories, Western literature, Western science, Western technology, and this has very serious consequences for us. Today, we are in a situation that our institutions are those which were created by the Britishers to serve colonial interests. We do not have our own science and technology. We have our own problems given to us by our history, but we are not able to apply our own thought categories, our own concepts to solve them. And we look outside for help. So, some people have started talking about this is only an early stage of thinking on the subject. Some people have started talking about Indian knowledge system, but there is not much clarity about it. The purpose of this presentation is to define the Indian knowledge system as it is defined commonly or what is taken for granted among professors in Indian universities, among people connected with the state, and among certain NGOs devoted to indigenous knowledge. I have a number of slides to explain my point, but if it takes more time, I will go through these slides a bit fast. I have given my email address on the first slide and also on the last slide. If you like my presentation and you want to get more details, then you can write to me on my email and I promise to send you my presentation. Now I share those slides. So, friends, the title of this slide is Indian Knowledge System Definition, Aims, and Critique. So, I will provide a definition of Indian knowledge system. I will say what its aims are, what kind of resources can be useful in this, and also a critique. I will focus on two more critiques. One, that those who are talking of Indian knowledge system, uh, they live in a dream world of their own and plead for going back to knowledge system created in ancient India. But after that, there have been so many historical changes, cultural changes, social changes, technical or technological changes in the country itself, which can serve our own interests in today's context, and they are ignored. So I will say, take the best, take the best from the ancient times, and also take the best from then uh, from history, from different periods of history in India, including the Mughal history, Mughal time, Mughal period, and adopt an approach in which we do not stigmatize or isolate or say bad things about other communities. We are a country where so many communities or diverse people, people diverse on the basis of language, culture, religion, caste, and so on, social structure live. And today we find different kinds of movements hostile to each other's interests. We have to stop it. So Indian knowledge system has to be developed carefully by adopting a strategy which does not isolate anyone in society and which takes the best from all the communities, all historical periods, all knowledge systems that were created in India. And lastly, as far as technology and science is concerned, we take the best from outside today. Uh, I am not at least I am not one of those who believe that all kinds of knowledges are present in Vedas, and we have to revive them. We have to revive that knowledge system. Vedas were written in a different historical context, and today's problems and needs for new solutions to contemporary problems uh, has to make us accept whatever appropriate science or technology is available anywhere in the world. So these are my slides, and this is my email address arunk@iitk.ac.in. There is a partial but prevalent view of Indian information or Indian knowledge system. People think that Indian knowledge system means a holistic framework combining wisdom, practices, and thought categories from ancient India. This is the dominant. And it includes philosophy, science, arts, medicine, math, and more, passed down through oral and textual sources, Vedic literature, Upanishad, Purana, Samhitas, Shastras, like Arthashastra, Atharveda, Ayurveda, and epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata. This system needs to be developed as an alternative to purely materialistic approach and influencing education, governance, and daily life in India, emphasizing interconnectedness, sustainable living, and ethical principles of dharma and karma. This is a journey from the physical to the metaphysical for man. That Indian knowledge system helps us in, in our journey from this purely materialistic world or physical world to metaphysical or to the ultimate reality. Um, but if I evolve a more official kind of definition, then I quote a document, New Education Policy 2020. On page 16, there are some interesting paragraphs. I'm quoting those paragraphs. To quote, knowledge from ancient India and its contributions to India and its successes and challenges, and a clear sense of India's future aspirations with regard to education, health, environment, etc. Another quote, including tribal knowledge and indigenous and traditional ways of learning will be covered and included in mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, yoga, architecture, medicine, agriculture, engineering, linguistics, literature, sports, games, as well as in governance, polity, and conservation. Another quote, specific courses in tribal medicinal practices, forest management, traditional organic crop cultivation, natural farming, etc. Some of these points are very good, no doubt, and we need to develop them further and need to practice. Video documentaries on inspiration luminaries of India, ancient and modern, in science and beyond. What is the aim of Indian knowledge system as stated in NEP, New Education Policy? Importance of doing what is right means creating a tradition, a normative structure, and a value system in which doing what is right becomes the norm. A logical framework for making ethical decisions. Moral, ethical values in conducting one's life, formulate a position, argument about an ethical issue from the multiple perspectives. and use ethical practices in all work. As consequences of such basic ethical reasoning, traditional Indian values and all basic human and constitutional values, such as seva, ahimsa, swachhata, satya, nishkam kar, shanti, sacrifice, tolerance, diversity, pluralism, righteous conduct, gender sensitivity, respect for elders, respect for all people, and their inherent capabilities regardless of background, respect of environment, helpfulness, courtesy, patience, forgiveness, empathy, compassion, patriotism, democratic outlook, integrity, responsibility, justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity will be developed in all students. Uh, Most of these values are taken from ancient texts and some are taken from the Constitution of India, modern Constitution of India, the Constitution that we adopted after independence of the country. The question that arises in my mind, are Indian values clear, non-controversial, unique, and synonymous with human values? If they are synonymous with human values, what is the necessity of uh, asserting to go back to ancient texts only and uh, put these values only in Sanskritic terms? Okay. Uh, Education, uh, all curriculum and pedagogy, any new education policy also include all curriculum and pedagogy from the foundational stage onwards will be redesigned to be strongly rooted in the Indian and local context and ethos in terms of culture, tradition, heritage, customs, language, philosophy, geography, and so on, in order to ensure that education is maximally relatable, relevant, interesting, and effective for our students. Stories, arts, games, sports, examples, problems, etc. will be chosen as much as possible to be rooted in the Indian and local geographic context. Ideas, abstractions, and creativity will need best flourish when learning is thus rooted. With this, my question then is, will this help in the age of globalization and internationalization? Uh, in NEP 2020, when I look for acclaimed resources, then I find stories of Panchtantra, Jataka, Hitopadesh, and other fun fables and inspiring tales from the Indian tradition and learn about their influences on global literature. Video documentaries on inspirational luminaries of India, ancient and modern, in science and beyond, will be shown at appropriate points throughout the school curriculum. Students will be encouraged to visit different states as part of cultural exchange program. But although all these ideas are laudable, and certainly we need them, but why not also include similar stories from the Muslim, Christian, Buddhist literature for children if they further strengthen the same values? So, while accepting the idea of Indian knowledge system in principle, let me also say that I am opposed to radicalized Hinduism or political Hinduism, which in the name of Indian uh, or new education policy or indigenous or uh, ancient wisdom, wants to talk only in terms of Vedas, Upanishads, Jatak, Hitopadesh, and epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. I will say that from the long history of India, we take the best. Whatever uh, is required in the context of modern society for both purposes, for integration and also for development. We take the best from all historical periods in India. The NEP type definition raises several questions. Indian civilization is one of the oldest civilizations, and it has been changing through different periods: prehistoric, Harappan, Bronze Age, Vedic Age, Mahajanapad or early state formation stage, classical ancient stage, early medieval up to 1200 CE, Delhi Sultanate plus regional powers, and then Mughal Empire up to 1757, colonial India under the British rule, and the post-independence India. The necessity for Indian knowledge system arises because even after independence, our thought categories to look at our own problems and to look at our own self, our own history, and our social structure and our institutions has not changed. And we are still looking at ourselves in terms of the thought categories developed by the British people, British scholars and missionaries, who basically served the interests, industrial interests, colonial interests of the Great Britain. The changes in cultural uh, values and scientific developments have been so great, but uh, this is true that during the British period, modern advancements in science and industry destroyed our original industry, uh, our skills, our knowledge systems. But there is no denial of the fact that today uh, this new science and new technology, new and industry cannot be cannot be ignored because the problems that we are facing today are such that there are no Vedic formulae in terms of which those problems can be solved. I have myself uh, read, if not Vedas in Sanskrit, at least in English and Hindi translation, and I'm not convinced that Vedic literature can give any formulae, mathematical formulae to develop sciences, physics, chemistry, mathematics, or even cultural studies to provide solution to modern day problems of India or Indian society. It's a single reading of anything. You know, another problem that we face in talking about Indian knowledge system is that there is not one single reading or a dominant reading of anything, whether Vedas, Smritis, Kabir, or uh, any book, any text, or any person, any philosopher. There is even controversy whether number of Vedas is 3 or 4. In Shruti tradition or in oral tradition, uh, different interpretations of the same text always existed. Then progress in science from prehistoric age to post-independence is not linear and accumulating. This does not mean that Indian knowledge system is a backward term, but it has to be defined in a broader sense. My view of Indian knowledge system, what it can do is a pride in self. I think that will be the biggest, a pride in ourselves, our institutions, in the field of science, in our labs, in our works, in our research papers, in our books, in our journals, uh, and and in totality our own infrastructure and superstructure, our own. Indian knowledge system can help immensely in creating a sense of agency, self-esteem, and in decolonization of mind. To learn how did India manage for at least 5,000 years the diversities, contradictions, and conflicts. It produced both elixir and poison. What elixir and poison did, the continuous struggle for, I'm using the term from Parsons, adaptation, goal attainment, integration, and latency. Adaptation with new environment, new politics, integration in society, and some kind of continuity of culture. I think studies of Gandhi can teach many lessons for Indian knowledge system. Writing, and we have to write a history that is acceptable to the present. And by present, I am um, asserting and reasserting diverse people of India. Supplement the science with this integrative worldview. So let us take the best of science from anywhere, from uh, from England, uh, uh, from Europe, other parts of Europe, from United States, from Latin America, from Africa, from other countries of Asia, wherever are the biggest developments in science and technology, we take them, we master them, and use them to apply our problems in our own terms. And in the second objective, our problems, our own terms, Indian knowledge system can help immensely. We have to have a new drive for originality. A well integrated and scientifically advanced just society that leads to peace, peace of India as well as the world peace. Gandhiji used to think that establishing Swaraj in India is important because this alone offers the possibility of establishing Swaraj in the world. So peace in the country, peace in India, peace of India is important because it will ultimately lead to world peace. And we conceptualize that kind of India which will lead to world peace. My position is that in the taken for granted form, Indian knowledge system is a product of continuation of colonial imperialism and is becoming exclusionary. And we are not even aware of that. In the age of political Hindutva, we have to have a relook at our Hindu concepts or Indian concepts. Otherwise, it leads to some kind of binary thing. To me, the true Indian knowledge system suited to our culture and context requires questioning the binary thinking, this and that, uh, we and others, and critiquing the hegemonies of various kinds. All great thinkers, poets worldwide have stressed on human authenticity, inclusiveness, and rational choices. Indigenous modernity of India, exemplified by uh, Ramanandis. You say, why Ramanandis? Because Ramanand and Ramanandis created a revolution based on non-Sanskritic texts, Hindi texts. Uh, they wrote poetry and they preached in Hindi. Uh, Kabir is one of the topmost leader of Ramanandis. Uh, Universal, human, social, and spiritual. Kabir covered everything. Universal, human, covered society, covered spiritual matters, covered religion, religious science, everything. Combining with modern and appropriate science beyond. We have to go beyond Shoemaker's uh, uh, appropriate technology and latest developments in technology have to be accepted. Otherwise, we are committing the same mistake that Savai Jai Singh made in 1733-34 to take oath to implement Varna Vyavastha in the north with the help of Maharashtrian Brahmin. Because uh, Varna Vyavastha or caste system in North India was weakening and to maintain it served the interests of Savai Jai Singh. And so he took help of certain Maharashtrian Brahmins and the oath to implement the caste system. and creating differences between different castes and varnas. Now, this reading of Purushottam Agrawal's Akat Kahani Prem Ki also made me conscious of the fact that you can take oath of something only when that does not exist or that is weakening. So by that time, by 18th century, beginning of the 18th century, caste system was not in the same form as it existed for thousands of years. Actually, there is no form which existed uh, for thousands of years. Every system of the social structure of India has been changing continuously with changing mode of production and politics and religious revolutions and many things. Uh, so examine the Indian institutions and practices before colonial destruction, oral traditions oriented towards self-mastery, knowledge continuum between myth or religion versus science, alternative knowledge system inherent in pre-modern science, engineering technology history, that is examine engineering technological history, coming from Sanskrit textual sources with 15th, 15th century Hindi texts rejecting Sanskrit and modern scientific epistemology. Uh, we have to fight many ideas, wrong ideas, or such ideas should be called wrong ideas, which lead to enslavement of mind and make us dependent on the West or the others, belittling any community. So many communities live in India, and it will never do any good thing to criticize one community from the perspective of the other community. We have to select the best from all. Uh, but this is what we have, what has been fed to us uh, so far, and this should be fighting such biases and stigma should be on our agenda. For example, pinpointing fingers on Hindus, using Hindu as an unchanging category, Hindus as patriarchal, hierarchical, and having an immanent caste structure, caste being a stable basis of social stratification in India, leading to downfall of Indian traditions and culture. Why, if it was unchanging, then why was Jaising forced to implement, as I said in the last slide, Varna caste agenda as late as in 18th century? Obviously, because castes were not same as depicted today. So there was a constantly changing caste structure. There was a caste structure created in our minds by the British scholars or uh, uh, by the process of colonization, denigrating everything Indian and establishing or replacing that or supplanting that with everything Western and ignoring the internal processes of reforms and modernization. Uh, I'm referring to Akat Kahani Prem Ki by Purushottam Agrawal, and I'm also referring to Thich Nhat Hanh's Old Path, White Clouds, a book on Buddha. Now, sometimes people ask a simple question when I say that, yes, I'm also reading something on Indian knowledge system. They ask, what are the sources? So I will say, read Vinay Kumar Sarkar, two books on the positive background of Hindu sociology, dealing with both materialistic and cultural aspects, and his translation of Sukriniti that he did that he did toward the end of uh, his productive life. Read Radhakal Mukherjee, American Journal of Sociology, 1937 article on caste and social change, and his last interest in Ashtavakra Gita. G.S. Ghure, D.P. Mukherjee, Louis Doma, A.K. Saran, M.N. Srinivas, K.N. Sharma. I would include Derrida and Edward Said. Also, when I name these great Indians, M.N. Srinivas, K.N. Sharma, K.N. Sharma wrote a paper in Contribution to Indian Sociology on developing our own indigenous theory of karma or action rooted in Sankhya perspective. We also read Dharampal, the noted Gandhian thinker. many things which are attributed to us actually did never exist. And reading of Dharampal in the field of education and technology, uh, the second Indian science and technology in 18th century, reveal this very vividly. Uh, we also read Ramkrishna Mukherjee on Indian social structure and Dipankar Gupta for historical self-perception of so-called low caste. Fighting the wrong idea, belittling any community fed to us should be on our agenda. And I'm repeating this again. And that is the core of Indian knowledge system. And these are some people. But this is not a kind of uh, list which includes all those who have contributed to Indian knowledge system in any form. We have to go beyond them. So that is why I repeated these two slides, but I'm saying that we have to go beyond. We have to read more, we have to think more, and we have to evolve our own ideas about our own institutions and practices. Yes, and one one thing which I uh, uh, dislike and among uh, Indian so-called secular, progressive, and modernizers, and in short, anti-Hindu people is to imagine and attribute all kinds of wrong things to Hindu social structure. Sati is just one example. And I chose this example to show that a practice like this did not always exist in all regions of India and everywhere. For, actually, the definition of sati is also wrong. The bride burning is not sati. And I became aware of this fact after reading A.K. Saran, A.K. Saran and, yes, A.K. Saran and Anand Kumar Swami, particularly Anand Kumar Swami, a Sri Lankan scholar who has written many things based on Sanskrit text. For Hindu, there are five satis. If you come to the term sati, there are five satis: Sati, Sita, Savitri, Damayanti, Arundhati. But no one was burned on funeral pyre. They were not sati in the sense of uh, the term sati used for our culture by the Westerners or even reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Rai. These reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Rai, I would say, are the product of colonial mind, or many reformers actually thought about us in the thought categories of the West and wrote these things. The, maybe the practice was confined to a few villages of West Bengal and Rajasthan for different reasons. There is no mention of sati anywhere in Ramayana and Mahabharata except Madri, who committed suicide thinking that she was responsible for her husband's death, who broke the curse that if he had sex, he would die. The demon Jalandhar was surviving due to power of his wife, Binda, his sati. To kill him, gods broke Binda's chastity first. They had to break Binda's chastity first so that the demon Jalandhar could be killed. Uh, just see in what sense they are using the Indian epics and ancient texts are using, or Hindu literature is using the term sati. Uh, I asked my uh, grandmothers, I'm myself quite old now, and I asked my grandmothers whether they know of any case of sati in their village in their time or their mothers or their grandmothers' time. And the answer was no. Uh, so we are fed wrong things about ourselves, and that makes us lose our self-confidence. The if we have to fight against this colonial um, mind or this binary thinking uh, uh, or the product of colonial imperialism, the ideas developed about us during colonial imperialism we have to be very careful uh, and not indulge in such things or belittling importance of a great civilization and calling them Hindu practice. Similarly, colonial Indology or Orientalism are as important to fight as anti-Muslim or anti-West values. This is my firm belief that we have to fight wrong conceptions about Hindus, and we also have to fight wrong conceptions about the Muslims and about the West. Uh, Regarding patriarchy, let me just say one thing. Women were part of the collectivistic mode of production and as important as men. As per Al-Baruni, men took advice of women in all consultations and emergencies. Similarly, non-Muslims and states should refrain uh, commenting on Muslim thoughts and practice. Let the demand for change, if there is a need for change, if there is a demand for change, it has to come from inside. Do not stigmatize any community. So I know that I'm slightly deviating from the issue, but in Indian knowledge system should or cannot be developed only on the basis of Sanskritic or so-called Hindu texts, while the meaning of the term Hindu itself is changing. Its complete reliance on outsiders, administrative missionary, and anthropological writings to be trusted. Uh, I will just draw your attention to one thing that our understanding of inequality and exploitation in Indian social structure could be quite deceptive because India, after implementation of Jamindari system in 1793 by Lord Cornwallis, starting with Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha, and then gradually moving to uh, other states, uh, uh, did not leave India in the same state in which it was when India practiced some kind of collectivistic mode of production. We have to fight against commonsensical and politically promoted concepts such as hard Hindutva simultaneously, rejecting everything that is Western, uh, and thinking that we must promote Vedas because everything has all scientific and technological and economic wisdom lies in Vedas. Also westernized reformist ideas about India's past because they also I said that they also had a colonial mind. Uh, the term Hindu and its meaning has been changing. Certainly, India has never been Hindu in contemporary sense of the term. This my assertion of this may annoy some people I know, but I stick to my position that India has never been Hindu in contemporary sense of the term. Promoting anything in the name of Hinduism or believing in the continuity of same Hindu tradition or Sanatan is inconsistent with facts and would be counterproductive. The term Hindu has been invented more than 1,000 years ago and was not communal initially. See the titles of some books. Al-Barunis Kitabul Hind, Praful Chand Roy's A History of Hindu Chemistry, Sarkar's Hindu Sociology, or Chennai-based Hindu Weekly. You know, in 1878, when in Chennai Hindu Weekly started, it was not a communal, it was not a weekly which promotes Hindu interests or Hindu ideas or Hindu concepts. It was a secular weekly. And later on in 1889, it became a daily and it is a secular newspaper uh, in the sense in which the term Hindu was used initially. The meaning of the term has been changing with socio-political formation. Uh, so changing meaning of term Hindu, you see, there is no mention of the term in classical literature. First of all, let it be clear that uh, in classical literature of India, mostly Sanskrit, there is no mention of the term Hindu. For more than a millennium, Hindu was an inclusive term. For last 1,000 years or more, the term Hindu was inclusive to a Jew in the sense Hindu is a daily newspaper in Chennai. It changed into non-Muslim during the independence struggle, and that too toward the end of the struggle, not initial. Initially, there was no conception of Hindu and Muslim in politics. Even Muslim League did not support the idea of Muslims having a separate state. But gradually, for variety of reasons, we cannot go to those regions here because of shortage of time. Gradually, this category of Hindus and Muslims developed during the independence struggle toward the later period. After independence, the term Hindu shifted to non-Muslim, non-tribal, non-Christian, followed by Sanatan, which was actually a term used by Hindus uh, in opposition to Arya Samaj, a reformist movement launched by a Brahmin. So Brahmins have been very conservative, and maybe in several areas and several times Brahmins have been the dominant and exploiters also, but zamindars, exploiters, dominant caste, whatever name you give. Uh, but Brahmins have also been revolutionaries, and they spoke against the caste structure in its very rigid form, wherever such rigid forms develop. Then Hindu religious science is not the only source of Indian knowledge system. Great insights have to be gained from other sources also. Western knowledge system, we have to gain insight from Western knowledge system. We have to gain insight from Muslim knowledge system developed during a long Muslim period, and that made a tremendous contribution to India's science. See, when you find that Brahmagupta, uh, uh, Brahmagupta book is translated into Arabic, and Brahmagupta is considered to be inventor of mathematics in India. Uh, uh, Brahmasput Siddhant into Arabic, Ajiz, uh, by uh, by Tariq and by Fajri in 7th century, it shows that yes, uh, from the standards of those days, not from the standards of today, that distance has to be maintained. From the standards of those days, India was one of the most advanced countries in science, and people looked towards us, and people came to India to learn Indian science. Indians interacted with outsiders for development of mathematics and science and astronomy and so on, architecture, uh, defense science. Uh, um, and this translation of these things into Arabic also shows the same thing. A long period of interaction between Indian science and um, you may call it Iranian science, Persian science, or Arabic science, or whatever. We cannot ignore Muhammad Salih, who was a metallurgist, astronomer, and geometrician, contribution to this Indian knowledge system, or Ahmad Sarhindi, an influential Islamic scholar and Sufi, who made contributions to religious epistemology just because they were Muslims. So Muslims have a very powerful contribution to emergence of culture and science of India. Muslim engineers crafted mines, designed military rockets, and invented new guns. Their contribution to irrigation, production of paper, and architecture is immense. Actually, I am speaking from Lucknow, so and this Lucknow University, such a big university of today, uh, perhaps the most important state university was first mooted by Raja Sir Muhammad Ali Mahmud Khan, Khan Bahadur. He was called Khan Bahadur, given the title of Khan Bahadur. Um and he was supported by Harvard Butler, who was Lieutenant Governor of United Provinces. So just seeing Indian only in terms of Hindus is also not going to do good to our society. Then there were Muslim rulers. We do not even know about them. Our our schools do not teach about them. Our teachers do not know about them. Our students, primary school, high school, intermediate students are not aware about them. That there was some Sultan Jan Alabuddin of Kashmir and Ibrahim Lodi Shah of Bijapur who contributed to rebuilding of. So if some Muslims destroyed temples, there are also other Muslim rulers who rebuilt the temples, renewed stipends to Brahmins, and overall contributed to Hindu culture and institution. Azizul Haq and him also, you see, during that time when India was creating its own science or was contributing to science by becoming part of world science movement, several Indians made great contributions. Some of them published with Western scientists, and sometimes there is a debate that many works, many ideas developed by Indian scientists were appropriated by the Westerners, and this is not unbelievable. Even today, we find that in best of our institutions, sometimes our own professors do the work, but they would like to publish it by putting some more known scientists or social scientists from outside, from America or from US, from UK or from other countries of Europe, so that the work is published. Uh, as there is a feeling everywhere that Indians cannot be as good as the Westerners are, and we become pre to that, and we do the work and publish with first authorship of outsiders. This is very common. So in those days also, many of such things happened. Uh, I think we have to do some literature search and find out the original contribution of Hemchand Bose, like or Azizul Haq, and include in Indian knowledge system, although the main credit was given to outsiders like Joan Vucetich. Similarly, Jagdish Chandra Bose's work on wireless telegraphy, which was appropriated by Marconi. Uh, the same Bose who developed crescograph, magnifying images 10,000 times, and dozens of stories of appropriation and avoidance. So, friend, what should be our agenda? The problem which I face in talking about Indian knowledge system, what should be our agenda, the objectives? Uh, fa- our agenda should be to that there must be our concept should include facts in the light of integrative human value. We must collect facts about ourselves and interpret them in the light of integrative human values. Philosophical concepts consistent with Vedas, Smritis, Quran, Bible, good conduct of morality, and most importantly, these new concepts, part of Indian knowledge system, should be acceptable to rational self and to myself, in short, to human value. No book, including a Veda, is a permanent guide to human race forever. Integrationalism in place of exceptionalism and socialism should be our agenda. Human interest, de-emphasizing identities in state matters, uh, caste or religions or linguistic groups or regions or geographical regions should be gradually, it cannot be done overnight, but gradually they should be replaced by human interest. Human interest means concepts dealing with interests of human beings, physical, social, mental, and spiritual. Industrial capitalism as the major, we must also understand that not the caste system or not the Muslims or not the other thing. Industrial capitalism is the major cause of inequality in India, and we must learn to yeah, uh, I have already said this two, three times that we must respect values and beliefs in private sphere of others. Respect others' values and beliefs. These others may be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Jain, Parsis, Tamils, Punjabis, Gujaratis, or Biharis, or anyone. And we must accept a continuous flow of common values and civilization. While identity-based structures, hegemonies, inequalities, hierarchies, exploitation develop from time to time, but there is also a constant movement with a common core of human values, common values and civilization, and we have to stress on that. Uh, why I'm saying so? Because when you see writings about India by travelers, foreign travelers, long back, 399 to 412 C, Faxian, or Yijing, or Aijing, in 671 C, or Songyun in 518 C, Al-Baruni, and many others, what they write about India. Compare them with what Islamic scholars or British people have written about India. Um, Also compare that with what enslaved mind, Hindu enslaved mind, what our reformers, basically accepting the Western concepts, have written about ourselves, and you will find different stories. We have to choose a story which will serve the interests of today's India. Um, Conflict theories, radical feminism, etc., etc. They have further added to conflicts, and they have not. They have done some good thing by raising voices which were silenced by some structure in some period of time. But from integrative perspective, they are not going to do much uh, help to building a new India based on Indian um, uh, knowledge system. Today, we are utterly dependent on West for science as well as creating new institutions. If somebody writes an Indian from a top university in India, when he writes a paper or she writes a paper, uh, uh, if you I have faced this situation as chief editor of some Indian journal, that if I request them to give their article to our journal, which is the journal of the society of community of scientists in certain field. So they will take it to be an insult because they think that this only those articles which are not publishable in uh, foreign journals should be given to Indian journals if at all. So friends, while we are talking about Indian knowledge system, we should also know the limitations of Indian knowledge system, that our Shastras, our Sanskrit texts, our vernacular texts, our reformers, etc., etc., we take from them, but they do not have uh, any magic, any formula which can solve the environmental, economic, political, and social issues of our time. In short, uh, the problems of rich societies, the concept used by Aldrich Beck, and most sociologists are familiar with that concept. That today we are not solving the problems caused by nature, we are solving the problems arising from our solutions to fighting fighting nature or fighting problems created by the nature. We have moved away. Let us accept that we are far behind the West in science, and Indian knowledge system will not help in making us scientifically independent. We or we can, this Indian knowledge system should include, should, I will say, should include the advancements in science and technology. We should learn science and technology from the West, the recent developments, and make them part of our own integrative and scientific Indian perspective. The ancient knowledge was developed in a historical context. We live in a different world today. Conclusion. What I want to say, let me summarize that I wanted to say that, acquire the scientific knowledge. My Indian knowledge system encourages me to acquire the scientific knowledge, more modern, advanced scientific knowledge, along with Indian cultures and philosophies, and the best of non-religious spiritual values propagated by Buddha, Shankar, Islam, Christ, and the great Western philosophers and writers. Religious and textual material to be avoided in schools, and all religions, including Hindus, to be allowed to run their own institutions. That is a different. These are two different things. As far as state-run schools are concerned, our religious and textual materials, as far as possible, should be avoided unless they are of historical interest. But the same freedom which is given to others should also be given to Hindus to run their own institutions. That is okay. The philosophical substratum of knowledge must be based on universal values framework. Or we take uh, the Quran, the Bible, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vedas, Shastra, Smriti, but selectively take those values which are consistent with the human values framework. It may look impossible today. Most of you will say that what nonsense I'm saying. It is impossible. But it may look impossible today, but I also see a possibility of multi-religious Indian identity developing in the future. And I also am aware of the fact that things which were considered impossible at one time became uh, a possibility and part of everyday taken for granted knowledge or ideas later. All great ideas looked impossible at one time. Uh, Let me end my presentation by saying that uh, this I read from Thich Nhat Hanh's Old Park, White Clouds, which is translated into Hindi. Jai Jai Charan Pade Gautam Ke. That Buddha did not say which of the 62 prevailing philosophies was right or wrong. When his disciples asked philosophical questions, he said there are 62 philosophies. And philosophical answer, this answer or that answer, will only make you more disillusioned, more confused, uh, and go on a wrong path. Actually, what he said, uh, uh, that ex, uh, he said that, nor did he say that accepting his philosophy will help. He did not preach a ready-made philosophy. Buddhist texts are written um, centuries after the period of Buddha, as is the case with other great texts, with Bible or with Quran. That these books are written. Vedas were never written by Vedic people. Vedas were written centuries later when writing became a possibility and uh, it is spread. This became part of the Indian knowledge system. Actually, at a time when uh, printing press became a possibility in the country or outside. Other, so Buddha said, "Be your own lamb." Uh, Buddha said that do not get into trap. At that time, in Buddha's time in India, perhaps there were 62 plus. 62 is an exact number. The number of philosophies may have been 63 or 61. That is not important. The important is that at that time itself, a large number of philosophies were prevalent. He neither criticized them nor supported any one of them. Nor did he say that you accept my philosophy. He says, be your own lamb. Uh, I conclude by saying that in my conception, Indian knowledge system will gather ideas from ancient books, from books written later, from the shining Hindu period, and also from uh, literature produced during various Muslim dynasties, uh, and without any sense of making Muslims isolated or anti-Hindu or any kind. We accept everything from everyone and adopt or adapt that to solve problems of our our times. We also take the best of science and technology from outside. But I want to see a day when the best of Indian minds will happily send their research papers for publication to Indian journals. And if somebody requires them to publish in an Indian journal, then they will not find this insulting. Thank you very much. Uh, uh, Certain ideas were coming to my mind. People ask what is Indian knowledge system and how do I view it. So I have been thinking about these issues. Uh, Please note down my email address arunk@iitk.ac.in. And if you have any query or if you want to get my PPT, please write to me. Thank you once again.